Last episode, we heard about a dragon who lived in a cave, dragons with multiple heads, and even an evil Egyptian dragon who tried to stop the sunrise each morning. So you thought that was it? No, my friends, we're not done yet. Let's find out what other dragons were slain and who their famous slayers were in this week's episode of Secrets of the Ancients. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to never miss an episode. At number 5, More of Moor Hall and the Dragon of Wantley. This particular tale from South Yorkshire, England, is an unusual dragon-slaying story. First recorded in the 1685 ballad, A True Relation of the Dreadful Combat Between More of Moor Hall and the Dragon of Wantley. The ballad begins by praising More of Moor Hall even above Hercules, for with nothing at all he slew the Dragon of Wantley. The Dragon of Wantley had wings, long claws, 44 teeth of iron, and, unusually for a dragon, a sting in his tail as long as a flail. Like the Dragon of Beowulf, its hide was tough and almost impenetrable. The dragon ate children and all sorts of farm animals and even entire forests. Its tastes did not stop there, however. Oh no, houses and churches were to him geese and turkeys, says the ballad. In despair, the people desperately turned to local tough guy More of Moor Hall. More demanded a fair maid of 16 before he agreed to engage the dragon in combat. Hang on, I thought the hero got the maiden after slaying the dragon. More dressed himself in armour covered with long spikes, looking much like a man-sized porcupine, and then proceeded to down 6 pots of ale and a quart of aqua vitae, a medieval spirit. Then he hid in a well, waiting for the dragon to come and drink from it. Discovering More in the well, the dragon turned, and I quote, shit at him. The disguised man-hedgehog responds with, "Thou son of a thou stinkst so sore. Sure thy diet is unwholesome." They then proceed to fight for 2 days and a night. Just as the dragon seems to have the upper hand, the story goes More of Moor Hall, like the valiant son of Mars, as he came like a lout, so he turned him about and hit him a kick on the arse. The kick to the behind proves a master stroke, as it is the dragon's only weak spot. With the thing at thy foot, thou hast pricked my arsegut, and I am undone forever. The poor dragon's end is especially undignified. First on one knee, then on back tumbled he, so groaned, kicked, and died. The excretion in this particular story adds an element of realism that I'm not quite sure how to feel about. At number 4, Sigurd. Sigurd is a character in the 12th century Icelandic text Volsunga Saga. Volsunga Saga was a direct influence on J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
It's quite cool.
And the legend of Sigurd and Gudrun. Volsunga Saga is the tale of the heroic exploits of Sigmund.
What about you, Sigurd? Do you want to be king?
After his family are killed in a feud, Sigurd is fostered by Regin, who tells him about his family. Regin's brother Otra was a great fisherman who could turn himself into an otter. But one day while being an otter, he was killed by the gods Odin, Loki, and Hona. The gods then had to pay compensation to Otra's father, King Hreidmar. One of the gods, Loki, steals a dwarf's treasure to pay the ransom, but the dwarf curses one of the rings, giving death to its owner. Regin's other brother, Fafnir, kills his father to steal the gold, and he turns into a dragon. Regin tells Sigurd to kill Fafnir in revenge for the murder of his father. Sigurd gathers the pieces of his own dead father's broken sword and reforges the legendary weapon. Assisted by the god Odin, Sigurd digs a pit under a trail that the dragon Fafnir walks along each day and lies there waiting. Fafnir finally comes down the path, blowing poison around him, and Sigurd drives his father's sword through the dragon's shoulder. As he dies, Fafnir warns Sigurd about the cursed treasure, But the hero ignores him, and eventually the cursed ring does indeed lead to Sigurd's murder. At number 3 is Cadmus. In Greek mythology, Cadmus was the legendary founder of Thebes. He was, alongside Perseus and Bellerophon, the greatest hero and slayer of monsters before the days of Hercules. Cadmus was a Phoenician prince and brother to Europa. Europa was carried off by Zeus, king of the gods, and Cadmus was sent to find her. Unsuccessful, Cadmus consulted the Delphic oracle, which ordered him to give up his quest, follow a cow, and build a town on the spot where she lay down. The cow guided him to Boeotia, where he founded the city of Thebes. Intending to sacrifice the cow to Athena, Cadmus sent some of his companions to a nearby spring for water. The companions of Cadmus, sent out to fetch water, disturbed a dragon, a son of Ares, who was guarding a well. The dragon emerged from its cave and savagely killed the men. In revenge, Cadmus slayed the dragon. Later, Cadmus sowed in the ground the teeth of the dragon he had killed. From these sprang a race of fierce armed men called Sparti, meaning sown. The Sparti fought one another until only 5 survived. These 5 assisted Cadmus in building the Cadmea of Thebes and became the founders of the noblest families of that city. However, Ares was pretty upset that Cadmus killed the dragon, who was Ares' son and guardian of the fountain of Castalia. So Ares made Cadmus do penance for 8 years by serving him. According to Theban legends, it was at the expiration of this period that the gods gave him Harmonia as his wife. Nevertheless, Cadmus was deeply troubled by ill fortune which clung to him as a result of him killing the sacred dragon, and he one day remarked that if the gods so admired the life of a serpent, he might as well wish that life for himself. Immediately, he began to grow scales and change in form. Harmonia, seeing the transformation, begged the gods to share her husband's fate, which they granted. After Cadmus and his wife were turned into black serpents, they were sent by Zeus to Elysian Fields, also known as the Islands of the Blessed, a place in the afterlife where the gods' favoured mortals would go. At number 2, Fat-Frumos. Fat-Frumos, which translates as handsome son, is a heroic knight figure from Romanian folklore. Similar to the Prince Charming figure in Western European fairy tales, he is courageous, just, physically strong, loyal to his king, and romantic. He is usually depicted as the youngest son of a king, who has to prove his worth through a variety of challenges, and usually outdoes his older brothers. Often on his quests, he has to choose between different ordeals said to evoke the history of Romania, which has often been forced to choose between unpleasant diplomatic alliances. Most tales of Fat-Frumos describe him fighting dragons. Romanian folklore has 2 principal types, the Zimu and the Bala. The Zimu is an anthropomorphic dragon with legs, the ability to make and use human weapons, and a love for precious things. It frequently kidnaps young maidens to marry them and must be defeated by a knight, making it a useful narrative device in folk stories. The Bala is a more straightforward monster, being large and ferocious, albeit with between 3 and 12 heads like the Greek Hydra. Wallachian folklore also holds that Bala can make jewels with its saliva. That sounds pretty handy. The stories of Fat-Frumos give us a chance to review the archetypal features of dragon-slaying legends generally. The livestock stealing, maiden kidnapping dragons of Romanian folklore personify evil and greed. Their selfish behaviour negatively affects others and cannot be tolerated. Heroes like Fat-Frumos are successful because of their bravery and fidelity, be it to their ruler or a deity. The idea is that evil can be defeated by good. So be warned, greed, selfishness, and excessive love of wealth could literally turn you into a dragon.
Hello.
For our final dragon slayer, it is of course none other than Saint George. Where else to conclude our quest for dragon slayers than the most famous of all? St. George is the patron saint of England, Ethiopia, Malta, Gozo, Catalonia, and the region of Aragon in Spain. A popular guy. He lived from around 256 AD to 303 AD, was a Roman soldier of Greek origin and a Christian martyr who refused to give up his faith and thus faced torture and death. The tale of George and the dragon was not recorded until the 11th century. The legend goes that the city of Selene in Libya was once plagued by a dragon that lived in a pond. The dragon would emerge every day, poisoning people with its foul breath, and would only stop when given 2 sheep to eat. But the city of Selene quickly ran out of sheep, and they had to start giving the dragon people to eat instead. All the young people were forced to enter a lottery to decide who should be the beast's dinner. One day, the lottery was won by the king's daughter. The king offered all his gold and silver to have his daughter spared, but the people refused. The daughter was sent out to the lake, dressed as a bride, to be fed to the dragon. St. George arrived at the spot. The princess tried to send him away, but he vowed to remain. The dragon emerged from the pond while they were conversing. St. George made the sign of the cross and charged it on horseback, seriously wounding it with his lance. George instructed the young maiden to tie her belt around the injured dragon's neck, and it meekly followed them into Selene like a lapdog. George promised to kill the dragon if the people of Selene converted to Christianity. The people of the city were so amazed at what they had witnessed that they all became Christians and were baptized. After 15,000 accepted the Christian faith, George decapitated the dragon, which was so large that it had to be taken away by 4 carts to be dumped at a safe distance. The king was so grateful that he offered St. George treasures as a reward for saving his daughter's life, but George refused it and insisted he give them to the poor. The king built a church to the Virgin Mary and St. George on the site where the dragon died, and a spring flowed from its altar with water that was said to cure all diseases. So there you have it. Our quest to discover the ultimate dragon slayer has concluded. Were there any favorite dragon slayers that we missed? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to know more about dragons, check out my co-host Ben's video on the differences between Western and Eastern dragons on his other channel, Learn Chinese Now. I'll put the link in the description below. But for now, see you next time on Secrets of the Ancients.